So the art type in Yu-Gi-Oh! With arguably the most beautiful card artwork in the entire game just received some brand new support. And I'm not kidding, this shit is gorgeous. It's probably a good thing this art type has such amazing artwork, because otherwise there probably wouldn't be a whole lot of reason to play it. Not because this deck is particularly bad or particularly good, it's because this art type is, to put it lightly, extremely linear. Yeah, I'm just sugarcoating the word boring. This art type, from my experience, is really boring, as essentially you're doing the exact same thing, and I mean the exact same thing, every single duel, with the only difference being occasionally you activate this one trap card that basically just says, hey opponent, you can't play the game today. Yeah, I just don't really see the appeal of this archetype. To be fair though, I feel like this archetype just isn't really for me, but I know a lot of people do enjoy the sort of turn your brain off style Yu-Gi-Oh! Of really linear sort of gameplay of doing the same sort of thing every game, and if that's the case, this is one of the more fun decks for doing so, as it is a sort of really silly mechanic, as you'll see during the replays, where you just start off with a really small monster that grows and grows and grows and grows into a really big monster. It looks kind of silly, as you'll see during the gameplay, but like I said, it's fairly linear, so just depends on what sort of playstyle you like. But without further ado, let's stop talking, let's get into the deck list. So here's today's deck list. Now just a reminder before I get into the deck list, if you're enjoying today's video and want to see more content just like this in the future, especially if you're a returning viewer, as apparently about 50% of people watching this are not even subscribed to the channel, you need all of you returning viewers who have seen my content before. So if you find yourself keep coming back to the channel and want to see more content just like this in the future, remember to leave a like on this video and consider subscribing to the channel down below. Alright, let's get into the deck list. So today's deck list is going to be Mayakashi, which is one of the sort of more linear playstyles in the entire game, as the entire purpose of this deck list is to do the exact same thing every game, and that is to climb. Not necessarily climb the ranks, as I think this deck list is pretty mediocre. It's not awful, but it's not the best deck around. But the entire purpose of this deck list is to just climb ranks of your Link monsters or your Synchro monsters. Essentially, you're going to start off with 2 monsters on the field, a level 1 and your Tuner monster. From there, you go into your level 3. In doing so, you activate the effect of your Tuner monster in Graveyard, which brings itself back to the field. From there, you go into your level 5. Once again, triggering your Tuner monster in Graveyard to bring itself back. Then you go into your level 7, and you keep going all the way up until you get to your level 11, which then you'll go into your Link 2, bringing back the monster once again, and going into your Link 3. Once again, bringing back the monster and ending on a Link 4. So essentially, from 2 monsters, you're going to end on a Link 4 monster and a level 2 on the graveyard, and have all these cards in the graveyard, which then you can bring back during your opponent's turn for various different effects. You can have your effect of making this big dude who's just immune to all card effects. You can bring back your Yoko, which is the normal one, because when it's summoned to the field, pops one of your opponent's monsters. Bring back your Tengu, pops a spell and trap card. You can bring back these dudes who do stuff, but honestly, you can bring back by yourself because they don't really do anything too impactful anyway. And that's basically the playstyle of the deck list. Now on top of all that synchro summoning, link summoning bullshit, this art type does actually have another win condition, and that is of course going to be the trap card. Ghost meets Girl, a Masterful Mayakashi Shirinui Saga. And I'm not gonna lie, this trap card is really boring, but you can't not run it in this deck list because it's absolutely insane. It's literally a win condition by itself, but it's a floodgate, and it's one of those cards where I really wish that they were going to release new support for an art type. They'd release something more fun that sort of synergizes more with the actual art type itself, rather than just being a card that literally just says, tribute one of your Mayakashi, Link, or Synchro monsters. No player can special summon any monsters from the hand, deck, or extra deck for the rest of this turn. So essentially you just lock your opponent out of playing the game, pass the turn back, and you win the game. Relatively not exciting. It does have a second effect though, where you can banish this card from your graveyard to target one of your banished zombie monsters, return it to the graveyard, but you can only use one effect of this card per turn. And that second effect synergizes really well with the brand new Link 3 monster. The Link 3 is called Yuki-ONNA the ICICLE Mayakashi, and basically it has 2 effects. Once it's special summoned, you can target one effect monster your opponent controls and negate its effect, so a nice little play going second. And also, the more important effect, its quick effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard to special summon one of your zombie synchro monsters that is banished or in the graveyard. So pretty damn important to note with this card, since essentially when you're doing your link climbing at the start of the duel, when you're setting up your entire field and ending on your link 4, you're going to be putting this card in the graveyard, meaning you can banish it from the graveyard whenever you like, whether that be during this turn or during your opponent's turn, to summon back any of your dudes and trigger any of their effects. And like I mentioned, we now have this trap card that can recycle this card, putting it back in the graveyard, meaning if during your opponent's turn you use this card's effect, pop one of your opponent's monsters, then during your turn, you can activate your trap card, put this card back in the graveyard, and then summon back, let's say, a 3300 attack beat stick that's immune to monster effects. As for the rest of the deck list, honestly, it's all just pretty simple stuff. You'll see during the gameplay portion how it works anyway. It is so goddamn easy that I really don't need to go through the cards here. You'll see during the gameplay how it works. So without further ado, let's get into some replays. So today I have 3 replays to share with you guys, all of which were gathered in Diamond 3, which is obviously a bit of a bad look for the deck, but also a good look for the deck at the same time, because hey, I didn't demote, but the fact that I finished Diamond 3 after starting Diamond 3 also means I didn't rank up any games, which, to be fair, I feel like that's just sort of what this deck list is. It's not the best deck list in the game, and it's certainly not the worst deck list, so don't expect to climb too much with it, but if you play it a few times on Rank Ladder, you're not going to demote, so if you want to play this playstyle, go right ahead. Also, I've seen a couple of deck lists do reach Diamond 1 with it, so it's definitely a Diamond 1-able deck list. It's just one of those deck lists that's probably going to take you a bit more time than doing it with others, for example. Alright, so let's get into the replay. So first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to search for my Yuki. Normally you wouldn't do this, you'd search for your other level 1 monster, which we'll show in just a second, but if you can get a hold of these 2 cards for your starting play, it's a lot safer into hand traps, because if you normal summon this card, special summon this dude, you go into your Synchro level 3, and as you begin your climb, you're basically immune to most hand traps that don't affect the graveyard, as you no longer use any effects on the field for the rest of your turn, as you'll see. So if you can do this, it's generally safer, but yeah, the other card is a 1 card, and this is more of a 2 card combo, so you won't be doing this very often. Alright, so because I have this dude on the field, I can special summon my Yuki. Yuki would then normally send Mezuki to the graveyard, but I happen to already have him in hand, so I just send a copy of this dude to the graveyard. Don't even know why, I just send a zombie to the graveyard, because I didn't really have much choice. Alright. Summon out my level 3. On the summon of the extra monsters from the extra deck, my level 2 comes back. So now I go into my level 5, again, summon from the extra deck, so my level 2 comes back, and this is basically the playstyle that I was probably describing during the decklist portion. Summon my level 7, bring back to level 2, and this goes on for quite a while. Goes up into level 9, level 9 brings back to level 2. As you can see, we haven't actually used a single monster effect outside of Graveyard. So my opponent had Imperm, they had Effect Veiler, they had any sort of disruption for board disruption. We just don't care, we just keep playing. Which is why, like I said, if you can open this without having to worry about doing your normal summon of your dude, it's generally better to do so. Then we're going to our Link 2, now we're going to our Link 3. This deck list is actually sort of fun deck list, just in terms of how it works. It's just so dumb. It's a very linear playstyle though, so it's definitely one of the easier decks in the game. But it's, yeah, it's just a kind of cool mechanic. You just go through all your Synchro levels, then you go through all your Link levels, or Link ratings. Alright. So now that I've done all that, now I can actually explain what the effects of the cards are in the graveyard. So we have my nice little level 3 here, who's in the graveyard. At any moment, as a quick effect, I can banish it from the graveyard to special summon back any of my Synchro monsters, which I probably spoke about during the decklist portion. Spoiler alert, I'm recording this before doing that, but I assume I did. But basically, all these cards have some nice little graveyard effects when special summoned from the graveyard. So if my opponent had a nasty spell card here I need to deal with, like a continuous field spell or something, I could summon back my level 7, pop the field spell. If my opponent's playing Sprite and they summon a level 2 monster, and I want to remove that, so unless they open Sprite Starter, their turn just completely dead, I can then special summon back a copy of your level 9, who on summon just pops a card on the field. And that's exactly what I was going to do here, but I'm pretty sure my opponent conceded. So yeah, that was a very basic replay just showing you how the deck list works. The last 2 replays are a lot more amusing than that. Alright, so this was a Marine Cess replay. If you're wondering about the other effects in the graveyard, the other ones generally aren't that important. The level 11's kind of sick, because on summon he's just basically immune to all monster effects, or immune to all card effects. But the other ones, they don't really do a whole lot. One like Mills, and the other one I think stops your monsters being destroyed by battle or something. Not particularly that great. Alright, so opponent summons Blue Tang, I'm going to activate my hand trap to pop it. This is because I don't want him to go into his Link 1, because now he's Link 1, I think his turn's basically dead. Unfortunately, he had a cross out, so... he's just gonna do his standard sort of Marine Sessy stuff. Like I said, we're not gonna be. He wouldn't be doing this sort of combo too often because it's generally the other way to summon out your synchro. But I just happened to open it again here. Alright. This opponent's gonna do a whole bunch of stuff. I'm saving my Imperm because I'm just waiting for him to try to search for the field spell. Because without the field spell, if they go into their Link 4, it's gonna have like 0 attack. And it's generally also gonna have like no equip spells attached to it. Well, this guy did in this case because he summoned out his other dude. Which you'll see in a second. Alright. Discard, searching for his Marine Cess Wave. Summon out his dude. Go into his Link 4, and we can use the dude in the graveyard to equip a Link. So he now has a Spell and Trap Negate, and he has his Marine Cess Wave to make this thing immune. But it also has no attack, so I don't particularly care too much. This is basically a very standard game for this deck list. Going second, you don't really have a whole lot of like ways to like break boards or anything, so you're just running a billion hand traps. So because all your hand traps and things like Droplet clear your opponent's field or stop your opponent being able to summon out an insane field, so then you can sort of just beat over your opponent's stuff because you don't actually have like a whole lot of like board breaky stuff in the archetype, and it's very reliant on its normal summon. So if your opponent disrupts this starting play, your turn just ends. So if you can't stop your opponent playing the game, you're probably going to struggle. Alright, so here's a lot more standard of a play. So we're going to send our Mezuki to the graveyard. Go into our Synchro, bring back our level 2, and the climb begins again. Straight into our level 5. I think we can fast walk from here for a little bit. So I'm back. This is one of the fastest ways to complete your Synchro missions, by the way. If you have your daily Synchro mission, just play this deck once. That's a billion Synchro summons. And the Link summons, to be fair. You do 3 Link summons as well, so... if not more, if they pass the turn back. Alright, summon out my Link 2. Bring him back. Summon out my Link 3. And now you're going to see this dude's effect. Because on summon, I can target one card on the field and negate its effects. So we'll just do that on this card. Then I'm going to bring out my dude, go into my Link 4. You actually, whenever a monster is summoned back from the graveyard, can target a monster on the field and negate it. So I try to target this dude. Unfortunately, he negates my guy, but it really didn't matter anyway. Because it negates it and it reduces its attack to 0. So this card can make it really easy to clear fields. And also, it's technically a negate during your opponent's turn, since you do summon back monsters during your opponent's turn. But it's not a great one, since you can't really use it in response to things, since you have to wait for the monster to be summoned before the negate goes off. But if your opponent has a monster on the field that has to like activate its effect, then you're fine to go. Like a monster that doesn't activate its effect on summon, one that's just on the field and your opponent has to manually click it, you can summon back a monster beforehand and negate it, so yeah, it does work that way. Also, your opponent summons back cards from graveyard as well, you can negate them. Alright. So going to be trying to negate this, doesn't really do a whole lot. We summon back this with a level 3, I think. Or was it Mezuki? You use Mezuki to summon back your level 11, who's now immune to all card effects. Beat over this card. He's going to add a card back to hand, but I'm not going to swing in. I think I had lethal on field here. Or it might not have been. It was close anyway. Oh yeah, it was close, because I got him down to 3100, but I still had the Link 3 in the graveyard to summon back a 2900 if I wanted to. It just wasn't quite enough, so I didn't bother. Might as well save the disruption for next turn. Tries to use Cosmic. We don't care. We're just going to use the Trap Trick in response. Trap Trick going to be banishing your Mayakashi trap, grabbing you the Ghost Meat skill. So I can now tribute this monster whenever I feel like, and all of a sudden, my opponent can't summon from the extra deck for the rest of this turn. I think he just decides he has no chance there and just concedes. So I can't summon from the extra deck or from the hand, or from the main deck, so absolutely disgusting trap card. I do think it's a bit of a shame that the Konami decided that the new support they released for this archetype was just, hey, here's a floodgate. I feel like it's a really boring way to make boring new design for decks and stuff. I guess to be fair, this archetype did sort of lack in power level, so I guess giving it like a really powerful card like that was good, but kind of wish it did something a bit more exciting. Like maybe some sort of destruction effect that would have like nuked your own field or something to sort of pop things and bring back Mayakashi to engrave. There's a billion lot of design things they could have done that would be more fun than just, here's a floodgate. The fact that the Floodgate tributes as well is kind of lame, since your whole deck's based around destruction-y stuff, but anyway. Alright, so first thing we did is we're going to use our Foolish Burial to try to bait out Ash Blossom by sending a Yuki. Then I'm going to grab this dude. Now, honestly, I probably once again should have done what I did in the previous 2 replays, where I got the level 2 dude on the field, because then again, I'm safe from hand traps and it's a lot better. But the fact that I hadn't gotten a replay yet that showed off the Hajun, which is the main way you're going to be playing the deck, because most of the time you're going to 1-card start anyway, because you don't open the level 2 that often. But because, for some reason, I just didn't open the, or I didn't want to show off just another version of the last 2 replays, I decided to just search for this guy and, just pray my opponent didn't have an Imperm or an Effect Veiler. It does technically end on a better board doing this way, it's just not that much better, and in general, it's, yeah, like I said, weaker to hand traps. Alright, summon my Synchro, summon my dude. Alright, climbing up. Because the benefit of doing it this way is you have 3 monsters on field, rather than the only 2. So you get to end with an extra Synchro on the field. Which means you don't have to tribute your Link monster for your trap card. Which again doesn't really matter because you just summon stuff back from graveyard anyway, you just floodgate your opponent out of playing his turn, so it doesn't really matter. Alright. I forget what this guy was playing, I think he might have been another Sprite player, I think, if I remember correctly. Alright, send all my stuff and pass them back. Yeah, so he summons his level 2, we now know he's playing Sprite, so I'm going to use Trap Trick. This way we won't be able to summon any dudes from hand. Tributing off a monster from the field. So now he's just going to do standard Sprite stuff instead. Which we're still fine against, because now he can't summon out his dude to protect his field spell. So the only thing we're kind of worried about is if he happens to have his monster negate. Because at any moment we can bring back our dude. Put him on the field and pop this card. We can't do it in response to its activation, like when it tries to add cards back from the graveyard, because that's not how the thing works. But we can do it sort of before it does so, and hope he doesn't have a negate. He knows not to destroy this because he's read the card, so he destroys the monster instead. But by this point, it's completely over. I even have the 1-for-1 to go into full combo again, but in this case, I'm going to show off the other stuff. Banish the trap card, bring back the Link 3, which can then banish itself, to then bring back a monster, and we still have Mezuki in graveyard, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, we just bring back level 9, and he's dead on field. Alright. I think that's it, I think he just concedes afterwards. Alright guys, that's going to do it for today's replays. Hope you guys enjoyed them. If you did, leave a like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, hope to see you guys in the next one. Laters.
Hey, big brother, can I watch SpongeBob?
Shut up, Mokuba. I'm busy flagging YouTube videos to compensate for the fact that I have an extremely small penis.
Oh.